participants to come in.
2 people show up.
My mom can't make it to all of them, okay?
All right, well, that's good.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think my mom's ever seen any of our webinars. Any of my webinars, at least.
Mine either. I would agree with that.
Mom, if you're out there, hi.
She can't even change her password. So.
You know. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is AJ Kuftik. I'm a product manager here with Expedient, and I'm very, very happy that you joined us today. Today, we're going to be talking to Lee Parkinson from TopRX around how we've been able to help extend their operations and get them running faster. But before we get started with that, quick housekeeping note. Number one, this is all being recorded. So if you have to step away, you want to show this to someone else, I'm probably going to send this to my mom. Then you should, you'll get a link in your email, but this will also be available on our website at go.expedient.com/webinar replays, youtube.com/expedient, twitter.com/expedient, linkedin.com/company/expedient. And on those social networks, go ahead and give us a follow, like, subscribe on all of those platforms to make sure that you're getting all of this wonderful content that we're putting out and to keep up with the latest from Expedient. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we started about 20 years ago doing co-location. Today, we have 14 data centers in 10 cities. And over the course of the last 20 years, we've released services like cloud, DR, backups as a service, security, multi-cloud, and end-user computing to help you along this journey. And one of those services that we released was a product called Operations Control. You might remember from late last year, around October. But what we wanted to talk to was a client of ours. Lee Parkinson joins us here from TopRX, and as a operations control client is really getting some value out of it. But before we get into that, Lee, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your role, and what TopRX really does?
Sure, be glad to, AJ. Thanks. I've been in IT for about 38 years. Started from the help desk for programming, networking, project management, typical IT management, Salesforce automation, all the way to currently VP of Information Technology here at TopRX. In different areas, manufacturing, distribution, service industry, publicly traded commodities, great industries like the tobacco industry, where we ran fiber optics to grass huts in Africa, to the cotton industry, where we created the first spot cotton exchange in the world. It's tied directly to the New York Board of Trade. And then most recently, I was with in the hunting and fishing industry, which included productions of 60 TV shows a year for Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel, things like that. So I've been lucky enough to have a diverse background. I've seen a bunch of technologies in a bunch of different areas. TopRX, what do we do? We're a generic wholesale pharmaceutical distributor. So we've been in business for over 30 years. We sell small pharmacies, mom and pop pharmacies, hospital pharmacies, animal hospitals occasionally, and to buying groups that aggregate purchasing power and buy from us for their member pharmacies. So we run 2 physical call centers, one here in Tennessee at the headquarters, and one in southern Florida. And then we have two remote sales groups, one in Ohio, one in New York. We offer preferred brand pharmaceuticals, over-the-counter products, PPEs, DVEs, anti-diabetic products, CBD products, vials, labels, just anything a pharmacy might need to run its business. We're not associated with the big pharmacies like Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, Kroger. They're supplied by the 3 large distributors in the country, which is AmerisourceBergen, McKesson, and Cardinal. So we're that next tier wholesaler. We have approximately 7,000 customers and about 4,500 active SKUs. So
I want you all to know that I did not know the part about the Sportsman Channel or any of the fun things that he had done. And now, Lee, I have so many more questions about that that we will have a different conversation about. I don't know that we can record that one. I just want to know if you know, there's a guy who wore a Tennessee Volunteers hat, ran a fishing show. Anyways.
Quite a bit, yes. That's the company I worked for actually before. He was with the start of that company, and so I know him quite well.
That guy's amazing. Anyways, go Google that guy's bloopers. They're the best. Anyways, so for TopRX, how does technology play into that, right? Because you're not, as you mentioned, you're not the big three, which means you're kind of in a much more kind of, competitive market around trying to get pharmaceuticals and sell to these clients. So how does technology actually play into how TopRX does business?
Well, first, an important part, we use business analytics. We have a complete staff of analysts that feed data based on purchasing habits of the past and ordering habits into our CRM systems. In turn, we use those internal CRM systems to generate tools that the sales reps would use every day to work with the customer. Something unique to our business that we've created that no one else has is what's called a call scheduler. And this is a piece of software that tells the sales associate by customer when is the best time to call the pharmacy based on their ordering habits. So they may call this pharmacy tech on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after 3 o'clock, and that's when they order the most product. If you call them on Tuesday, Thursday, they don't answer, or they say I'm too busy. So we take all into account. And we have to have our systems connected, because our sales reps are here. Our data resides in the Expedient data centers. We have VPNs connecting everywhere. So all that has to be extremely fast, extremely responsible for the sales rep, because they're building these relationships as they go on the fly. So they're talking to their customers as they're actually servicing their customers in the pharmacies. So then we also have a B2B portal, which is an external B2B site where they can order directly, which about 30% of our business is handled that way. But the majority of it is account manager led or assisted purchasing. So they're impersonating the customer. They're building the carts online with them as they go throughout the day. They're working back and forth with the pricing tools that are built into this system to give them the best price because they're price shopping all day long. I mean, we know that. Like you said, there's 250 of us out there and in that second tier. But and then like most distribution companies, we operate ERP systems, warehouse management systems that pick, pack, ship product. Obviously our DC is here, so all handheld networks, all the picking, all that responsiveness has to connect to the data centers at Expedient, and so that performance is key to us being successful throughout the day. And then upcoming in 2023, because we are a heavily regulated business, is DEA's new DSCSA regulatory adherence that we have to meet. It's a serialization of each bottle of drugs and the traceability of those products from the manufacturer all the way to the dispensary. So by November of next year, the ability to not be up could affect potentially 30% of the drugs dispersed in the United States. So all of us are going to have these problems, and that's why Expedient is so important to our success.
I just thought about being down in 30% of the pharmaceuticals not being able to make it around the country. That's not great. Yeah. So it's what you have here though is, you're using sales tools, right? The business analytics to figure out when's the best time to call, and you have a portal and your order packing, but that sounds very similar to a lot of organizations, but what makes this different for TopRX in terms of technology and how that actually plays into it?
Good question. Like we said, our customers can purchase products from several wholesalers. So our goal is to be the preferred call they take every day. So there's a little bit of cold calling, but we try to build the relationships with these customers through the pricing and availability of the product and the best customer experiences possible. So what's unique to TopRX is our business model. We actually start at zero every day. So when we have our executive leadership start up every morning, that's the last thing we say to each other is, hey, don't forget we start at zero. So every day our sales reps have to to resell our product from scratch. So it's not like we're selling quantities that are stored on pallets in warehouses. These are typically small quantities used to fulfill prescriptions the next day or two. So that being said, our primary sales cycle each day is later in the afternoon, so 2 o'clock to 8 p.m. roughly. And what's unique to TopRX, additionally, is that we're in the same city that FedEx is headquartered. So that being said, we cut off our ordering at 8 p.m., which is later than anybody in the industry. So, but if we're down for any time during that reason, the customer will move to another wholesaler, and we lose that revenue for good. There's no making that up. So from that 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame, it's got to be 100% uptime. Period. There's no way about it.
And that sort of model is very interesting in terms of like, this is stuff that that clients are expecting like that day or the next day. They're not expecting this like, oh, I'll order and it'll be here in a month. You're talking about things that are incredibly transactional. Like on Monday, they are placing an order and they expect it on Tuesday, right?
Correct. We do about 90% overnight shipping. Even with the late cutoff, there's many days that we're taking hundreds of orders at the airport at the last minute to get it to meet the overnight shipments. So yeah, it's very critical.
And so, how does Expedient help TopRX stay in that spot, right? Of we want to be, that person they're ordering from, that they're taking the call from. So how does Expedient help TopRX stay in that spot?
Sure. Well, it's the operations control tool is probably the most valuable. We have to monitor resource utilization history. We have to look at the resources throughout the day, first of all, in real time, and then we look at right sizing the resources throughout the year. So we're, take for instance, we're upgrading the framework with this B2B portal. So we had to spin up a new staging environment that was in our data center, so that we could actually test performance in our own data center, not wherever we're developing it outside of here. So we were able to spin those up, in a day or two, have the whole system operational, and we could put the site on there and test it with our software. So given our business model, so this is kind of the most important thing to ensure that we have uptime during those 2 o'clock to 8 p.m. cycles. It also adds resiliency, flexibility to in the internet as a service environment, because it changes quite often. We'll have case in point, the systems became, as customers, the customer base grew, we had to install load balancers at Expedient. And so we'd never done that before. So we used Expedient's experience, the Cisco technology they had in place. We put load balancers in, started hosting multiple web servers behind those. And so the monitoring of that became important. So, and then we also have the ability to manage our own firewalls because it's highly regulated. Security is important to our industry. So, and as well as our board of directors. So we have to we have our own security department, which is very odd for a company our size, but it's that important to us. So we manage our own firewalls, both at Tennessee and in Florida, that connectivity to Expedient data centers, as well as all the VPN access. Expedient manages the inter-data center connectivity and the external access to the internet. So we don't have to deal with that stuff, and which is good. But I can't tell you how much the relationship has worked so far.
And so when we're talking about that Expedient taking on the management of some of these pieces, what has that allowed you as TopRX and your organization to actually be able to focus on?
Obviously, selling product, improving our distribution systems. We have like most companies, you're dealing with sins of the past. So there's a lot of block and tackling going on here, and just to not have that, to worry about that has been a good thing. The past 2 years, we replaced the EDI systems. We're on an AS400 IBM Power I platform. So we replaced all the hardware that is hosted in Expedient data center. So we replaced those, and so it allowed us to do those kind of things and upgrade our technology and focus on developing new tools. And then obviously we're learning as we go. Yeah, no one's perfect. Expedient's not perfect. It's like anybody else. So as we get hiccups and trying to navigate through the tool sets and things like that, Expedient's been there to help us out and acknowledged when they did wrong, when we did wrong, and then I think that's what makes the relationship so good.
So you mentioned that we're not perfect, and we try really hard every day. Y'all, we try really, really hard to be as good as we can be every day. But you mentioned that what's made Expedient different in your experience, because you previously used another provider. So what's making Expedient different in that regard?
And multiple things. Yes, we had most of our departments only been here for, I would say, less than 3 years. We have one of my 13 that's been here 11, 12 years, something like that. But so we all came in and we inherited this provider, and I can't tell you what a miserable experience it was. The support was you go to their portal, you submit a ticket, you get an answer in 3 days, the first response. I mean, there's nobody in house that could handle any technical questions. They spend most of the time, trying to find ways to make it our fault, which is, I thought, kind of interesting. Consider they handle all the OS and below, and all we handled was the applications that were on the VM server. So they had all this control that we didn't have, that we wanted, and we had experience. We have VM engineers here on staff, and very familiar with all the products that you use and others use, like the Zerto and Cohesity, although we used different backup. But bottom line is they didn't have. I think they were basically an IP phone company that decided they wanted to offer services, and that wasn't a good match. So on the DR side, it was all manual. There was absolutely nothing that automated DR at all. So here at Expedient, we've experienced the push button DR, BGP. You don't have to worry about propagation of IP addresses to the switches or the firewalls. I mean, we do that with scripts behind the scenes. So it's like it's one big network. Both our disaster recovery and our backup site are both. It's as if they're on the same network. So we can move things around and do small failovers, things of that nature, which has been good for us. We had some issues with the escalation process. We weren't clear on how to escalate things. So, in the beginning when things weren't going, good as far as how we operated the tools, we made some mistakes. But the escalation process with Expedient has been, improved to the point now where it's seamless. They always have the engineers available. They always answer back. Now that we know how to bring it to a high level during that 2 to 8 o'clock period, there's absolutely no hesitation. So, and we had some issues with access to Zerto and some of the other tools, but once we got access to them, we've improved that relationship. So yeah, like we said, nobody's perfect, and we've actually started looking at Elastic, which is that log aggregation tool, building dashboards, querying the data behind the scenes of what's happening in our environment to improve things before things go wrong. And we're looking forward to doing that. So, but that group's been willing to work with us, to improve our skills as needed, and we'll do that in the future. The other thing I could say, probably the last two things I would say about this conversion is the onboarding was phenomenal compared to other places. The project manager, if I can name names, Tammy Wiggins, was great communicator, stayed on top of everything. Yeah, she's great. And then engineer Stephen Martin, what a guy. His knowledge of the system architecture of both yours and what we were trying to do. He had the experience in the IBMI, the AS400 world, which we didn't expect. So he was invaluable there. And then of course Rob Ward, our sales rep, and Josh, the pre-sale engineer. They helped us determine what services we really needed, what configuration options we should look at based on what we had at the old company. So, I was a little rambling on there, but it's been tale of two cities, absolutely.
And I think by the way, Steven says thank you.
Yeah.
I just got an IM from me.
Good.
But in this sort of, space, we want to make things easier on you, and we also want to work with you. And I think that's been kind of what you've seen. And just to be completely transparent here, TopRX has been running into some issues with the operations control platform and DR, right? But we've been spending a lot of time internally because TopRX says, hey, here's a problem. And we've spent time working on it and have partially fixed it. So these are the sorts of things that we want to be able to do with our clients. And so when we sit down and build a solution, it's not just here's a bunch of services, good luck. It's let's go build a solution to actually meet what you need. And that is I think that's a big differentiator for us, not just between us and other providers of our type, but also just generally against the way that you're doing things today, is that you have access to more people than just the people who are inside of your company. You mentioned the whole operations control and finding problems before they start. You have a technical person who's on your team who we asked to be on the webinar and couldn't because they're on vacation. Is the level of comfort with operations control that's so strong that he's like, yeah, I can go to the beach, it's fine?
It's been interesting because for the guy that's the head of operations to leave for an entire week, and literally he's not participating in any calls, any meetings, anything. He is truly on vacation, which is rare, and especially with the intensity we have around our operations on a daily basis, and starting from zero. But I found it's been like I said, the relationship has been very, very relaxing for me. Let's put it that way. I came from, like I said, the cotton commodities industry. So if you're down, they trade cotton for 2 hours. If you were down, it costs you tens of millions of dollars. Yeah, we're not that level yet, but it does cost us quite a bit of money if we were to go down. So being able to rest at night and not have to worry about that's good. It's been very good.
And it is 75 and sunny where that man is right now, and it is 43 and cloudy where I am. So he's won this one, but I'm on a webinar with my good friend Lee. If there are any questions, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A in the chat. But it's honestly, I think from an overall, experience, TopRX, you guys mentioned at one point, we joked that you guys are kind of doing like telemarketing for pharmaceuticals, but it's interesting to see that paired with technology. It's not just a straight cold call scenario. And, that whole change of making it so that the technology doesn't get in the way, right? And it's there all the time. It's not that the technology is down or my system is down or it's slow, that you actually know all these things. Dennis, the technical resource, mentioned that, you guys had some things where you added in the load balancer and then the right sizing said, we'll make these two bigger and make this one smaller. But you were able to take multiple pieces of data and actually make a better decision on that. Can you talk more about that one?
So yeah, we at the old like I said, they spent most of their time telling us what we did wrong or trying to make it as though they had no accountability, and their answer to everything was add resources all the time. So unfortunately, in the predicament we were in with the performance at their data centers, we just followed. We would add processors, we would add memory. So we're sitting around web servers with 32 gig of memory and 8 processors, and they're getting 5% utilization. I mean, it was just but their answer to everything was, we're not going to help you unless you do what we tell you. And so we followed. So when we came to Expedient, we were able to look at this in real time and say, hey, we don't use these resources. This is silly. It's costing us money that we don't need to spend. It's not helping us, and in fact, in some places, it was hurting us based on the white papers and knowledge bases that people like Stephen would send us, and some of the apps groups would send us as well, and say, no, this is not the right thing to do. You're killing yourself with all this hardware and all this processing power that you don't need. So yeah, it's helped quite a bit, and we'll eventually get away from the load balancers. That was done in an emergency situation. Frankly, because of the inefficiency of the code that we inherited. So now that we're refactoring that, rebuilding that, and our hope is to move to a single, a single web server instead of load balancing them, and so we'll be able to reduce the cost. So the flexibility to increase, ramp it up, ramp it down is certainly something we enjoy.
And you mentioned that whole right sizing of resources. Kind of how often do you do that? Because I think there's a lot of people who think they right size it once and then they never touch it again. But how often are you guys actually touching these things?
Yeah, we monitor it every day. We not that we're going to change it every day, but we try to get in front of it. We use other tools. We use SMTP monitoring tools because we want to get down to the switch level, the port level, some things that that typical infrastructure as a service agreements don't include. So we actually like to get way into the weeds. At least our technicians do. Dennis and the group, and so Expedient has let us, I guess this is let us get in and dive in where we want to, and not hindered us in any way, and not try to keep us. I mean, they've told us. You talked to Steve, and he said, "No, you won't touch this," that kind of stuff, which is fine, and we appreciate that. But all in all, they've been pretty flexible with us and let us, So we'll spin up a new server, once every couple of weeks if we need to. We'll bring something down. We'll change some resources. So it's not it's pretty fluid in our world. Because our business changes, we're looking at expanding to a separate data center, having another data center in the country. So that's going to add some other challenges, so we're going to have, WMS systems, in 2 locations, hooking up to Indianapolis and then also back to the sales center. So it's going to be an interesting challenge as far as networks are concerned. And I'm sure we'll be reaching out to the team to help us.
And we're very much looking forward to all of that. But I just want to ask you one question: is there anything we could do better to help you and to generally help the overall, the overall viewing audience? But mostly, what are you looking for as TopRX?
We've talked with Rob and the gang. I think just as we get these new tools, like Elastic is a great choice. I mean, it does so much. Our initial testing out of the gate was okay. Here's kind of a vanilla what you can do with it, and we were like, oh, okay. And then we pushed it aside, and so I think as we roll out some of these new technologies, more focused strategic training would be probably the one thing I would say we could use the most, and we could probably get rid of some of the other tools we have and utilize more of what's in Expedient's data center.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and write that one down in my notebook here is more training. But I want to thank you, Lee, so much for joining us today and telling us your story. If you guys out there want to learn more, you can go to expedient.com/services/multi-cloud and learn about our multi-cloud management tools, which includes our wonderful operations control platform. You can also reach out to me directly, aj.kuftick@expedient.com, to learn more as well. Please keep your eyes on your email inboxes. We'll be sending out some invites to our next webinar. Again, I want to thank Lee. I want to thank all of you for joining us, and we'll hope to see you next time. Thanks, everyone.